Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dad Barbecue, and today I'm going to walk you through general setup, operation, and use of the big green egg. And the not so big green egg. Still a big green egg. So come on. Alright, so the first order of business to get ready to lighting the eggs, and I'm going to do both today for the video just to show you operations the same regardless of the size. First is to open our bottom draft vent door. I'll do that on the large big green egg as well as the Minimax. And then next you're going to open your daisy wheel if that's what you have. So I am showing a daisy wheel here on the Minimax and the regulator on the large. Little trick, if you have the daisy wheel set up, is to orient it the way that I have here. That way when you open and close the lid, you don't have anything sliding and changing your heat settings. If you have the regulator top, you don't have any of that movement, it'll hold its position. So just go ahead and slide it open. So now we have two eggs ready to go, ready to be lit, and add some charcoal. So let's go ahead and do that. Just show you a few things real quick inside to orient yourself if you're new to the big green egg. The bottom, you have your charcoal grate. This is what's going to hold the charcoal up out of the bottom and allow airflow to come in. So you want to make sure that you always have good airflow so you clean out your ash between every cook. If you didn't buy your egg new and you're looking at buying one used, just pay attention or read up on the warranty policy. They're non-transferable, and you're going to want that because ceramic does crack, as you can see here in my firebox, that it's not survived a heat cycle. I bought this egg, so I'm under warranty, so it's not a problem for me. I actually have a new one that came in to my dealer not long ago, and I'll get around to replacing that. But a good reason to make sure you have the warranty, as these components do crack. So I've gone through several fire rings and a few fire boxes. Anyways, what you saw me remove in the first part is a kick ash basket. This is not something that's included with the big green egg, but is highly recommended, as allows you to add and remove charcoal, makes a breeze to clean up. When you're done, you just give that a little shake, pull it out, and remove all the ash. Propane torch. One of my favorite ways to light big green egg or Kamado Joe in the background is with a loaf lighter, but since it's raining today, I don't have any electricity over here. I'm just going to use a little MAP propane torch as well as fire starter cubes. Okay, so we're just going to close up the eggs, leave the vents in the wide open position for maximum airflow. And I'm going to relocate the camera here just to point something out, give you a little trick depending on the type of fire that you're going for. A little bit different configuration for a long, slow cook, or if you're doing something hot and fast like steak. Hang on, I'll come reposition the camera. Large, where we've got our fire burning in the center, burning straight down. If I'm doing a long, slow cook, and I'm not doing that today, but I'd like to throw in a few of the larger chunks of charcoal at the bottom, again to help make sure that I can see some of the air holes in the charcoal grate to allow good airflow. And then I like to really concentrate the fire down in the middle so I can control the burn. If you don't do that, or you just throw a few lighter cubes randomly anywhere, the fire will wander around. And once I set in here, I'll set it in so you can see my plate setter. The reason that matters is if your fire moves from one side to the other, you have these exposed areas. It's not a problem if you're doing like a spatchcock chicken or a steak, which will fit no problem in the protected area. But longer meats like ribs and brisket tend to fill side to side on the egg, and you'll find that you're getting burnt ends, but not the good kind of burnt ends you talk in a restaurant, really charred ends. And so to help avoid that, again, the trick there is to build your fire and control your airflow going straight down in the center as much as possible. That'll stop that from happening. So let's give these a minute to come up to temperature. All right, forgot to mention one thing, just talking about charcoal and again, larger pieces. I was just finishing off leftover bag that I bought at Costco, but I want to point out something on charcoal. One of my favorite brands to be getting lately has been Kamado Joe, and I'll show you just a size difference here in the pieces of charcoal. So in my right hand here is a piece of Kamado Joe charcoal versus the chips that I happen to get in the bag, from Costco. So while this works, great and has some great food, there's a few things why I'm not buying that bag again. You can see I've got some uncarbonated, pieces, some stones that came in it, and so I've just finished using what I bought and won't be buying that again. And what I have been getting more of lately is the big block, because I can place this and control airflow plus really hot burning clean fire off of the Kamado Joe. So I'm just going to add this in here and let that come up to temperature again. All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. We've got some heat. All right, it's been about 3 or 4 minutes since left you off after lighting. So you can see egg temperatures climbing large. We've got up just over 250 degrees. Mini Max coming along quickly, which I lit second at 200. I'm going to show you now setting up for an indirect cook. Let's say we want to cook around 250 degrees. So I'll let the temperature come up, what's reading just a little bit above my target temperature. Then what I'm going to go ahead and do is start slowing things down. So first I'm going to add plate setter into the egg. Try not to drop it or the camera. And I'll just go ahead and add in the grill. And then we're going to slow things down by adjusting our damper settings. So I like to use about 2 fingers of width on the bottom here for about 250 degrees. So let me just go ahead and slide that. And what we'll do is we'll close our regulator top here and adjust the temperature. So this is going to be a little bit more airflow than what we want, but adding in that cool plate setter, adding in the cool grill, and letting some temperature come into the ceramic, which right now there's barely any heat on the outside to the touch. That's not a true temperature. I was just getting a little bit of flame coming up from the charcoal, and this will help us settle in at the right temperature. I like to do that versus having the plate setter in the whole time, because it takes much longer to get up temperature when you're blocking your airflow from coming up and around. And it also helps get some ceramic heat into the upper dome and have a more even cook. So we're gonna let this settle for a few more minutes while that comes back up close to our 250 degrees. And then I'll show you the settings on the top vent. I might just give that just a crack more air, unless it doesn't take too long. Let's do the same thing on the Mini Max. So we left that a second ago, and you can see it's already gone from 200 degrees up to about 300. So we'll do the same thing here. And you can notice we lit the coals in the center and they moved to the back. That's something I notice the eggs do. So I don't have my fire setting, my fire ring in an orientation to do that. But you can set it to so that you have some heat protection at the back, because generally the fire does burn towards the rear. So let's go ahead and do the exact same thing. And add in our plate setter and our grill grid. Close the lid and set our vent. Even though the egg's much smaller, proportionally it's very similar, about 2 fingers in size. And I'm going to leave the daisy wheel close to wide open, which is more than what we need, but just while that stabilizes and we get closer to our true temperature, we'll hold it there. So we'll check back in a few minutes. All right, let's go check on our temperatures. It's about 10 minutes now after we lit both eggs. So the large sitting around 225, and the mini max just maybe a touch below 225. So now that we're getting close to the low and slow temperature that we want to go for today, we're about 25 degrees away. This is when you want to start making sort of your fine last touch adjustments. So we've got the bottom draft door already where we want it, about 2 fingers width apart. And what I'm going to do with the top vent is just start slowly bringing this a little bit closer to where we're going to end up. So for about 250, we're going to end up, all the way over here. But I'm just going to give that a little bit more air until we get close. So we're still about 20 degrees out. And so what I'm doing now is just slowly de-accelerating how quick the temperature is climbing and let it stabilize close to the finishing temperature that we want, which will be 250 degrees. So let's just do. All right, so one of the reasons I like to show you this method for lighting for a low slow cook is one of the things that puzzled me when I first started using a big green egg and then later Kamado Joes, is that your temperatures would never seem to be where you want them. You'd set it up for a low and slow cook, and all of a sudden you come out and it's 400 degrees. You turn that down to where you think you need to be, you come out half an hour later and your fire's out. So one of the ways to solve for that is the way that you build your fire and bring your Kamado up to temperature. So what we've done here, again, is just slowly let the temperature come up to about where we want to be at, then add in our plate setter, our heat diffusers, add in your grid, and then slowly make your first adjustment. First adjustment we made is on the bottom air vent down to 2 fingers. And then as the temperature recovered and came back up closer to that 250 degrees, we started making our micro adjustments on either the daisy wheel, regulator, or smokeware, chimney cap, whatever you're using for your top dome temperature. And doing this helps get heat in the upper dome, and it also helps make sure you're getting an accurate reading on your temperature rather than just a rogue flame saying that you're at temperature and you're at risk of snuffing out, extinguishing your fire. So I hope you find this tip helpful. I'm just going to give these a few more minutes and then we'll show you how to set up for a hot and fast cook. All right, it's been about another 5 minutes. Let's go see how we made out. So we've got our large egg. I think we get closest to the pin on the large, and so you can see my final settings here, just about 1/4 of an inch opening, and as we got closer and closer to the 250 that we were targeting, I just kept getting closer and closer to my 1/4 of an inch end position. And now that you've done this, you should have a nice warm to the touch outside ceramic, but not too hot. You can't keep your hand there, and that should be even heat all the way around. That way you know, again, you're getting good even heat, convection, not a hot spot. In terms of reaching a temperature, when you come at it nice and measured and slow, you know you're stable. Your temperatures are going to be stable, they're not going to move. I've done this many times and been able to go out for a walk, do some work on the yard, come back an hour or 2 later, and that temperature gauge hasn't moved. So if you're struggling with your temperature moving up and down, give this method approach. Let me know in the comments what you think. Now we're going to get ready for hot and fast. So I'm going to go ahead and remove our plate setters and show you how to get a nice sear on your steaks or doing anything else hot and fast. Alright, it's been about another 4 or 5 minutes since we opened up the top vent, and you can see very quickly we're gaining temperature. And so it takes almost no time at all, since you give maximum airflow, the rest of your coals ignite. And since we already had some heat in the egg, it takes no time. As you see, we got a few more charcoal pieces igniting there, some sparks. Alright, so there you have it. About 5 minutes, we've gone from 250 degrees to now climbing up to 600 very quickly. And so this is why one of my favorite ways to do a steak is a reverse sear method. Is you can cook it nice and slow until you reach the internal temperature that you want, pull off whatever it is you're cooking, and in a matter of minutes be up to really high temperatures with enough charcoal, enough airflow you'd be at 700, 800, 900 degrees, no problem. And at that temperature, it's literally 15 seconds, rotate 90 degrees, another 15 seconds, and flip. So 30 seconds aside, and you're done. Speaking of cooking and food, I'm gonna go inside and get dinner ready. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thanks.